is still too expensive. What do you say to them?
It's just 5%. All you need is 5% and sacrifice and planning. I think that deliberate planning, like, get in charge of your life, get in charge of your finances, make your money work for you. So you need 5% down. You can go to Peterborough. That was where we went. Peterborough, you can buy a house for 400 grand. And if you actually want to progress, you need to make the sacrifice.
And we're divorcing.
You are not divorcing, and we caught that on recording. Welcome, AJ and Nicole. How you guys doing?
We are good. How are you?
I am good. I'm excited to do this with you. You guys have had an incredible journey. We started this, back when, how old were you?
Would have been 28?
25.
No, younger than that.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Well, I'm not.
Has it only been 5? It
feels
feels longer than that.
Yeah. I think it's been 5.
2020 is when we bought our first house.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were just little babies.
Yes.
But we were talking about real estate before.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about real estate. Let's talk about how you guys got into it, because I think right now a lot of people are having a difficult time, and they're looking at the prices of homes and they're saying there's no way we can get into it. But I mean, even in 2020, the homes were expensive as well too. And so there's really kind of 3 main topics that I want to talk about today. I think the first one is just the beginning, like how you guys got started, and how do you save up the down payment? And then I want to dive into the journey and the success you've had and the mistakes you've made, and then the future. Like where do you see things going now that you guys are in your 30s now?
Yeah, we're old.
You've crossed over the threshold of 30. So yeah, so what made you decide that we're going to save up a down payment, we're going to get into real estate, especially in a difficult market when it doesn't seem that it's possible?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, of course.
All right. I've always kind of just been interested in dabbling in real estate. I tried my hand with the real estate license, and I don't think that's really for me. And then we met Gary. We went out for lunch with my dad and my little brother, and we had that
conversation. Was it Alamix?
What's that?
Was it an Alamix?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, we had that conversation. And just got the wheels turning.
Yeah.
And then Nicole and I graduated from university. We got ourselves our apartment, and then saved every single penny for a good year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Okay.
And then I don't even remember who we were. I think it was Darlene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking to Darlene, and she was telling us like we could do it with 5%. So we were looking into the process and how that would kind of work. And we needed to have roughly $25,000 to buy our first place. We wanted to house hack it, so we didn't have a big mortgage. So we were in Mexico looking through houses on Zillow or whatever. Swipe. Then I found one. I messaged you.
Yeah.
And then the day after we got back from Mexico, we drove up to Millbrook, and that's when we put in our very first offer on our first house.
That was amazing. And so talk about saving the down payment, because that's difficult. That's not easy, because you're getting your paycheck. And were you guys renting as well too at the time? Or were you guys both in? Okay, so now you're renting. So you're not even at home.
Yeah, we worked really hard. We aggressively saved and sacrificed all the niceties, all the leisure things for about a year and a half when we were in our first apartment. And we worked multiple jobs. I think at every moment in time, we always had at least 2 jobs. And we were just very intentional. When I was younger, I never thought that home ownership would really be in the cards for me. I was raised by a single mom. I don't want to say poor, but we lived in social housing. I thought money was bad. I thought money and wealth and pursuing wealth was not sinful, but I didn't connect to it. I thought it was just not in the cards for me. And then when I met AJ, I started seeing the potential.
Why was that though? Was it like anything in your upbringing? What you heard from your parents?
Yes.
School?
I learned that money equals stress and money is scarce. And so my mom was low income. She worked really hard, but we didn't have a lot of money. And I would see her stress. Like we would have debt collectors calling and people trying to collect on bills that were paid. And I just thought like money is stressful. It made me nervous. It made me anxious. And I was never really, I didn't have any financial guidance or literacy. And that's really where like when AJ and I started dating, I started opening up to the concept like, oh, money is not inherently evil. Like you can use it for evil. You can use it for good. Now I see it as a way to be of service to people, to help ourselves, put on our own life jacket before we help others. So we want to be well off so that we can help family. So that's kind of how I see.
I love how you phrase that. Put on your own life jacket before you help others, right? And that really equates to education because, you know, the lack of education or the lack of thinking that, well, money is evil. And I think it's the lust of money as opposed to using it as a tool and a resource to help yourself and then to be able to help other people.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people like they like money because of what it gets them in terms of like material items and things. And I'm not a materialistic person. Like I just want to have peace of mind. I want my pets to be healthy. I want my animal, my family to be healthy. And so money just is a resource that helps you achieve your goals in that way. And it's not so much about the
acquisition of goods. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then you realize also, well, at my age now, that it's service to many. As the more that I do this, I realize that it's about helping other people as opposed to just only helping yourself. But before you can do that, you gotta help yourself first to then be able to help other people. Exactly.
And everyone benefits when everyone is wealthier. Like when we're wealthy, when you're wealthy, like we can spread that wealth around. We can help others, invest in others. We can lend money or do whatever. Like everyone is raised up when you set an example, I guess, of doing well.
I agree. Yeah. So what about saving that down payment? Was there a certain percentage that you put aside that you said we are going to save and then whatever's left over we use? How did you come up with the amount?
I don't remember what we did. I know that we had like our rent and our regular just like fixed expenses and we put those aside. I'm easy. Like I eat the same thing every day. So it's super simple for me to budget. Yeah. And Nicole's pretty low key too. So
we're very low maintenance people. Like we don't go out and shop frivolously. We don't travel a ton. Like we're very like low key homebody. So it's easy for us to save. It's not easy for everybody to save. But we're also fortunate, like we have a degree, we went to university, so we have access to, a labor market that is well paying. So we both have good paying jobs. But even if you don't have a good paying job, if you are with your partner and you're both working full-time minimum wage, you can save a healthy amount. Obviously now rents are very expensive. When we were renting, our rent was it $1,000 a month?
It was, yeah.
It was a shoebox, mind you. But yeah, $1,000 a month in rent, it's kind of unheard of now. So we had that kind of good fortune at the time. But I think it's just about being strategic and like talking, having open conversations about your finances, not being afraid to talk about each other's spending and what your goals are. Like you have to be on the same page in a partnership and if you want to go far together. So we've always been very transparent with each other. Like this is what our pays are. This is how much we're going to put into the joint account. We've always held separate the personal accounts as well as the joint.
So important. One of the things when Darlene and I first started real estate investing, and then we started a real estate investment company, and then I became a realtor. She got her mortgage license. One of the things that we saw, well, more her because she was a mortgage agent, was that the people that had joint accounts, and it was either you float together or you sink together. Those are the ones that we saw that were more successful in life. Now, having a personal account, like this is my own personal money or whatever it is, maybe $100 goes into that every 2 weeks or every month or whatever the amount is, that you can say, no questions asked kind of thing.
Yes.
To a certain point, obviously.
Right? Yeah.
But having that joint account was so important. It was so important. And then the other thing that Darlene and I did as well too was that we then every 2 years, we did it almost like an election. So she would manage the books for 2 years and I would give suggestions, but she called the shots. And then the next 2 years, I would manage the books and then I would call the shots.
Okay.
And then for doing that, every 2 years we would switch, and we got to this system that worked really well. And then she was better at it, so then I gave it to her. So that was what we did. So we had elections.
Right on. I love that. Yeah. Every now and then, every couple of years, you need a change in leadership, a change in direction. No comment on what's going on right now. Yeah. But I've always found it interesting. We've talked about this a lot, AJ and I, like couples who don't have any joint account, like all their assets, all their money is separate. I think there's value in having your own personal account for sure. Like anything can happen. Life can go sideways. But we've always been very comfortable blending our money together and trusting each other and trusting each other's judgment and just having open communication.
Yeah. I think that's like the foundation of a good relationship is just the trust, and the financial trust is just another component of it. Like I trust that you're not going to go and grab the credit card on the joint account and spend $5,000 on something frivolous.
No, that's you.
I use my personal card.
That's right.
Now, what was the strategy now? So we went to, it was Millbrook.
Yep.
And you guys were specifically looking for what?
We were looking for a home that was a duplex. Like we wanted a rental unit. We knew that like this is our foot in the door. To me, it feels like a waste to buy a single family home. Like why would we buy a single family home when we can get 2 different doors and then rent out the one unit and have them pay our mortgage essentially? But we were looking for a place with a rental unit. Oh, sorry. We wanted to live in Durham region, but we were open to, I think this is another important thing. We were open to making a sacrifice of where we're living because homes in the region that we wanted to be in, they just weren't attainable within our budget at the time. What was our budget? Like 500,000?
Our budget was under 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that being deliberate planning and sacrifices, at least when you're first starting, is like paramount. It's the most important piece. Like we've grown up, we've lived in Durham region for our entire lives. I've been to Peterborough like, I don't know, a handful of times before we moved there. And it's just what we had to do in order to make the numbers work.
Because you guys lived in Durham. So you guys were in Oshawa?
We were in Bowmanville.
In Bowmanville.
Yeah.
Okay. And so at that time, were the homes there in your price range?
No, there was nothing in our price range. Everything was $1 million.
Right. So then I asked that question because a lot of people feel that, well, I want to stay in this particular area. Where were your jobs?
My job was in Bowmanville.
Okay.
So my commute was 1 minute from our house.
Right.
Yeah.
And my job at that time was in Peterborough. So I had just got the job in Peterborough.
Okay. So so you picked Millbrook because of affordability and the numbers made sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the commute wasn't terrible. It was like 30 minutes to work for me. And it was a cute neighborhood and it was affordable. That was the main thing. We just wanted to get into the market. We didn't need like a brand new build. We're not fancy people. Like the home that we got, I think was built in 2007. It was cute, affordable. That was the main thing.
It worked, but we also had like sacrifice maintained in our heads throughout the purchase of the home. So we weren't just buying the house and like, oh, great. We bought the house, lived in the basement, and rented the upstairs. So we took an additional sacrifice in order to save more money so we could buy the next house. So originally the plan was 5 houses in 5 years.
Right.
We got 1 house in 1 year by living in the basement, living frugally, renting the upstairs, collecting the rent, and just doing our best to save as much money as we can for the next purchase. And then
so before you move on now, so then now you rent out the upstairs. What were you getting in rent?
So we were getting $1,850 all in.
And then based on that, what was it costing you?
I think our monthly mortgage was 21 and change.
But what was it costing you out of your pocket to live there?
$600.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Right. And so then I bring that up because it's so important for people to understand that that's how you can make it affordable. Like where are you living in an asset that, and it's a true asset as well too, because you got somebody that's helping pay down your mortgage for you and it's costing you $600 a month.
And that's generous. Like I'm filtering in like gas, electricity, some groceries. Like our whole living expenses, including cars and everything, was probably $1,200 a month.
Right. This is why I have you here, because I want people to see and understand how it can be affordable, as opposed to saying, well, I can't do this. It's saying, well, how can I do this? And who do I need to talk to help me work through the weeds of it all, as opposed to just listening to the news and hearing all the negativity, or listening to my parents or my friends and people that are not where I want to be. And I'm trying to get to where I want to be. Who do I listen to?
Exactly. And we got roasted by all our friends, all our family. Why do you live in the basement? You just bought a house. Why are you living in the basement? Live upstairs, live your life. No one, like for a very long time, especially in your family, no one understood our goals. They didn't understand our lifestyle. They didn't understand, like, why would you want to invest in houses? Why don't you just find a house and stay put and, retire there? Right. We're just not, like, we're young. We have so much life ahead of us. We don't want to just stagnate and do like the average. We want to ascend and aspire to something bigger. But I would say, like, for anyone who's looking to house hack or start real estate investing, you're going to have a lot of people not understand you, and you're going to have a lot of questions and people trying to tell you what is best for you. Like, I remember when we were buying our first house in Millbrook, my boss at the time was like, it's a bad time in the market. Don't buy a house, stay put, just keep renting. You've got a good rent deal. And I was like, okay, I think you should only take advice from people who are in a position that you would want to trade places with. And if you don't want to live their life, don't listen to their advice. And then vice versa. If someone's giving you advice and you want to trade places with them, or you see that they're successful, that's who you listen to.
I couldn't agree with you more, for sure. And so house hacking is the strategy that you guys use first. And then it's also not your forever home. I think that's what ends up happening, is that people think that I got to get my forever home right now. And it's not. It's steps. It's a stepping stone to get to where you're trying to get to.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a gradation. We've always built that into our mindset. Like, this is temporary. Everywhere we've lived has been very temporary, because we know, like, we're not settling anytime soon. We're young, we're mobile, we're willing to move around. And I think that's something else too. A lot of young people who want to buy, it's very discouraging, because if you want to buy a house in Toronto because you want to live in Toronto forever, it's not really feasible. You might have to buy in Oshawa or Curtis or Port Hope. Like, you're going to have to make some sacrifices temporarily to get eventually to what you want.
Yeah, it's like the zeitgeist. So it's interesting, the perspective that people have. Like, you're 25 years old. You're just entering the workforce. You are working in Toronto. You're renting a place in Toronto. You want to live in Toronto. You're 25 years old. Why? In what world would you be able to purchase your dream house, or any house in a location that is, like, globally desirable? So you're upset that you can't afford the $2 million house in Toronto. Nobody can.
Right. Right. You got to climb there.
Yeah. Like, we can't afford the $2 million house in Toronto. And we've been doing this for 10 years, or 5 years.
I think a lot of people keep looking to the past, like the boomer generation, and they're like, well, it was so easy for the boomers, that you bought your first house at 19 and it was $50,000 and then you're set for life. That's just not the reality now. Like, regardless of, our thoughts on it, that's just not how the world is. This is not the time in society where you buy your first house and you plant your roots and you're there forever. Like, that's not the way life is going now. So I think people need to stop worrying about history and the past and how it was before, and focus on, like, the new reality.
Yeah, I agree. So then after that, how long were you guys there before we then decided to look for your second home?
13 months.
Okay, so just over a year.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we decided to move to Peterborough.
Yep.
Sure did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so we bought our Millbrook house April 2020, and then by the end of June 2021 is when we bought our Peterborough house. And again, it's a vertical duplex. It was a bit more expensive by like $100K, like, still affordable. And I don't even know if we were actively looking for a house at the time, or if we just saw it on Zillow and we're like, hey, this is affordable. We could do this.
I'm trying to remember the price. Was it $560?
I think it was $549.
$549. And that was a hot market as well too. It was a very hot market.
Yeah, Nicole was not looking. I was looking.
Okay.
And then I found this place, or we went to a couple places. Like, we went to Lindsay, we checked out a little, some different areas, and then we found this place in Peterborough and checked it out, checked all the boxes.
It was a legal duplex.
Yep.
Yep. And were there tenants in both units or just one?
Just the lower unit.
Okay.
We assumed a tenant in the lower unit, which, word of advice.
Well, this goes to what you want to talk about today with some of the mistakes that we've made.
Yeah. So let's dive into that then. So why don't we dive into the journey, the growth, the challenges, and also maybe did it cause some friction in relationship as well too? Right. So we can touch on that. But let's talk about, inheriting a tenant.
At the time, our mindset was, oh, great, it's already tenanted. He's been here for X number of years. He's reliable. Like we didn't want to kick him out. We don't want to evict anybody unnecessarily. So we retained him. And honestly, he was fine. He was a good tenant. But just in terms of what we wanted for our lives, I'm trying to say this politically correct. I wouldn't assume a tenant again.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the rent on that again? It was low.
$1,000 a month for a 2-bed, 1-bath.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have left if I were him.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yeah. So we did have that tenant for 2 years.
Yeah. So I think he was there for about 5 years before us. So the people that purchased the house prior to us bought with him as a tenant. Mm-hmm. So he's been there, like we were the third owners where he was the tenant.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I always kind of felt like we didn't even own the house. Like I felt like he owned it in a weird way.
Well, he'd been there for so long.
Yeah.
Multiple owners.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, we assumed the tenant. I wouldn't do it again. I think in hindsight, like if we were in that situation, we would write it into, the contract or something. Like we need to do our own tenant screening process. And I don't know how it works. Like, can you up the rent with a new buyer? I think you can, right?
No, it's based on every year.
Right, the guideline.
Yeah, the guideline.
Got you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like Gary, you and I were talking about this when we initially bought the house because I was a little bit perturbed on the $1,000 a month rent. It was significantly below market.
Yeah,
and we were like just running the idea of doing a cash for keys. And we didn't do it. So in retrospect, I probably would have done that immediately.
Upon moving. Yeah.
Now you moved in. I mean, the story does get better though for that one because you moved in, you're living upstairs. He was in the lower unit, if I remember correctly. And then now you rent out the basement of the property in Millbrook.
Correct.
Yes.
Does that cash flow?
Yes.
I think
Slightly cash flow.
Like $300.
Yeah.
It's better 3 in than 3 out. So good. So we're cash flowing.
Yeah. And I think it's important to keep in mind that we only put 5% down.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So to cash flow on 5% down, if we're breaking even, I'm happy.
That leverage is powerful. It's powerful leverage because you're using very little money to control a very powerful and strong asset.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So now you're in Peterborough, you're upstairs, you're renting out the lower unit. What is your carrying cost for you? Now, what are you paying each month now to live there? You recall?
It was originally like $2,400 for the mortgage. So we were paying probably around like $2,200 all in.
Okay, but then you get $1,000 coming from the tenant.
Yeah, I factored that in. So we were probably paying like about $2,000 for all of our living expenses.
Out of pocket after the rental income.
Yeah, that's
the rental.
That's cars, insurance, everything.
Got it. Okay, and then now you kept that tenant for a while. Okay, and then.
So basically what happened was we were living in the upstairs unit and then we were kind of at like a relationship crossroads and there was some stuff going on with my family. Like my papa had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. He's all good now. But he lived in Bonneville. So we just wanted to be back home. So we ended up leaving that. We rented it out. We had, I think, 3 different tenants in it in the last couple years.
Yeah.
And then we came back to Bonneville and rented a house for $2,500 a month, which really made things tight. Like it made it difficult to save for the next down payment. So there was a gap. Like we bought our Peterborough house in 2021 and then we just bought our most recent house just this month. So we took a few years off of investing just to kind of like get our ducks in a row. But yeah, now we have amazing tenants at our Peterborough house. They pay $22.50.
Yeah, no idea.
Okay.
$22.50.
So $22.50 upstairs. And then how much downstairs?
We haven't rented it out yet. It is in the process of being cleaned and renovated, but we're going to list it soon. And I think we're going to list it for $2,000.
Yeah, $2,000.
Okay, so that will cash flow.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and what are we thinking cash flow on that? What?
What's our
Over $1,000?
Oh man, I don't know. So we originally when we got the mortgage, we went variable because it was
Oh.
like 1%.
Oh,
So
okay.
Oh, it was
Right.
how can you
painful.
say no to 1%?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a couple years later, it became 7%. So
Right.
I think we're sitting now around 5%. So I think our mortgage is about 33, 34.
Okay.
So, but I
But
mean,
it will cash flow.
Yeah, it'll cash flow.
a few $100 a
Yeah.
month for sure. Like
Yeah.
over 500.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you've got 2 cash flowing properties. You're renting. And I heard the word that there was some stress in there. And there was like a bit of a relationship crossroads.
Yeah.
Was investing causing any of that, or was it just more personal stuff?
It was more personal stuff, and we were a little bit stressed out with like family stuff, and also the tenant that we assumed. We were just really starting to realize like the money that we were leaving on the table by having him there paying such little rent, so below market. So what we ended up doing was we were renting in Bowmanville for about a year, and then we were like, okay, we're gonna move back to Peterborough again. We're gonna enter that like self-sacrificing phase, and we took ownership of that unit. So we offered a cash for keys situation.
Yeah, which is denied.
Yeah.
And
So
then that's when we went forward with, is it an N11 or an N12? I can never remember them. N12 when you're moving in?
And 12 for, if you're
and 12
moving
to
in. And 11 is a mutually agreed.
Yes, yes.
Um,
So I went in with the
termination.
N11 and we weren't seeing eye to eye. So we went back with the N12 and just like, we had to cut our losses essentially because
Yeah.
we were basically paying the mortgage in Peterborough at this point was like $4,000 a month plus the rent. And we were bringing in like 3,000
right.
in rent.
So it was
we
tight.
Were, yeah,
it
was
just
tight.
wasn't
It was
making
tight.
sense.
Right. So then you moved back into that property there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we added some value. We
Yep.
did some painting, some renovation. So it's a lot nicer. And I'm really thankful that we moved back because it's like the first time I feel like we felt relatively settled. Like we're going to be here for a while. I think we were there for 2 years, which flew by.
Yeah, it did.
We've never lived anywhere for longer than 2 years. We're always on the move. But that was, I think, one of the best things that we did was assume that unit. And now we can charge a more appropriate market rent.
What I like about that as well too is that you had options. You had options because you had the property in Millbrook, you have the property in Peterborough. It allows you now to lower your expenses, to then take a look at, okay, what do I do next? Which is what you guys then decided to do was, okay, let's get a home now back where we want to live, which is now in Curtis.
Yes. Finally
Okay.
in Durham.
So now, is this a single family home? No, it's a 2-unit.
Of course.
Another legal 2-unit. Okay. Walk me through this.
Oh boy, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that we're back. So this house was listed for, what was it, 8? Do you remember, AJ? 8.
Yeah, it was listed for $899.
$899. And so what really drew us to this house was it's the most like modern, nicest house that we've ever had. Secondly, legal. So it's a 4-level back split, and so the bottom 2 levels is a legal apartment.
Yep.
And so we were really motivated. We've always wanted AJ's grandparents to move back to Durham from Aurelia, where they've been for 10 years, just because they're getting older, and we just want to be with them. And so when we found this house, we sent it to AJ's grandparents, and they actually were kind of interested. They didn't just brush us off immediately. So we're like, okay, maybe there's some opportunity here.
Yeah.
So yeah, his grandparents said, we're down to move with you guys. So we were very determined to get this house, and we paid a little bit more than we expected, but it's worth it. It's an investment in our peace of mind, our happiness, our future family.
Yeah. And it's a portfolio piece. Like it's something that we're not going to be selling.
Right.
So eventually I'm thinking maybe in like 8 to 10 years or so, we might move on or want another house. That's just something that we'll keep with us, rent it out, and then move on to the next thing.
And it's
that
a
we
great
do.
property as well too. It's a back split, if I remember correctly, right? Legal 2-unit, great neighborhood.
Great neighborhood.
You can get great rents on there as well too if you guys decide that you are going to move out. So your grandparents are moving in with you, and your parents keep them close to you.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been working on them for about a decade now to move back into the Durham region.
Right.
And they never wanted to. And then we're like, okay, well, we'll just buy a house and you guys will move in.
Yeah,
How
you
about
have
that?
no choice now.
Right.
And that was the power play that got it all. in motion.
Right.
And I don't think our plan is not to charge them rent. I think they're just going to pitch on utilities. Like we're going to mostly float the cost.
We haven't established a plan at this
No
point.
establishment.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's again, though, right, is that you have options because you've got cash flow that is coming in from some other properties. You're now in a home that you guys want to be in, that, you know, and making some of those sacrifices in the beginning. But maybe it's not your forever home, but it's a home that now you like, okay, I want to put maybe a little bit of money in it and design it the way that I want to, you know?
Yeah.
Which is the right way to do it as opposed to doing it with that very first home.
Exactly. Yeah. We would have really like blown our wad if we just put all in on the first house. We wouldn't be here now. So it's just a few years of sacrifice, a few years of like discipline and very deliberate, intentional communication and planning. And we're finally where we wanted to be. Like 5 years ago, we would have killed to be in this position, but we needed to put in the work and have the challenges in order to really like feel that sense of achievement.
How do you guys manage risk?
Just close your eyes.
Close your eyes and hope for the best. I did not like risk when we first started this. Like I was a very, like I said, I was afraid of money. I didn't understand it. I didn't like the concept of wealth. But now I think like a little bit of risk is necessary. You just have to be.
It has to be calculated.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not risk averse. I will jump into most things.
Yeah. You know what's interesting as you say that is that a lot of times, and I've been doing this podcast for a very long time, and when I ask that question, most couples are opposite.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that opposites attract. And the hardest part about relationship is being able to realize and understand that you are opposites and that you bring something to the table that's incredibly important where you complement each other.
Yes.
Because if it wasn't for AJ, he wouldn't pull you into this direction. But then if it wasn't for you, you wouldn't pull him back from certain risks that were too risky. So you need each other.
The yin and yang. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah.
All of the risk taking I take with my personal money.
Okay.
So the majority of like my outrageous risk taking is just done personally, and that's where I lose all of my savings.
Right.
But we sell the joint account, so everything's good. But I also don't really see real estate necessarily as like risk. So like when we purchased Millbrook, at no point did I see it as risk. When we purchased Peterborough, I didn't see it as risk until interest rates started going up. But that was like that was my fault. That's not risk of the market. That's not risk of anything else. That's just a decision that I made to go variable as opposed to go fixed. And then there's consequences with
There is.
Yeah. And we felt them. We rode the wave up and we're riding the wave down.
Yeah. You know, when we got into real estate investing as well, too, and I'm glad you bring that point up, is that in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, every year we were always looking at the interest rates. Where is it? Or should we lock in? Because we did variable as well too. And we were always paying attention to that. And anytime we went to a networking event, that was one thing that people always talked about. Like, okay, we got to pay attention. Where is the interest rate? Is it going to move up? And if it does, then we got to lock in. And then all of a sudden 2020 hit. And everybody just forgot about locking in. Well, I shouldn't say everybody, but most people. It was just like, it's variable. You gotta stay variable. Don't ever look at fixed. You know, and so it was a good wake up call for a lot of people to now take a look at, okay, how much risk do I really want to take on, and what am I comfortable with?
Certainly. And I'm thankful that we did our first house fixed and then the second house variable, because it felt like we were in a better position where we were able to like just
we could ride the
mentally
wave.
Tolerate the risk. Yeah.
We could ride the wave more comfortably.
Would you do variable again? I feel honestly, I'm a little bit married to fixed now.
Yeah, I think fixed makes the most sense in future planning because you just have an idea of what your expenses are going to be for whatever the term is that you're locking in for. Whereas with variable, like the savings of, I don't know, $300, $400 maybe if the interest rate goes down. Is that worth the peace of mind of like, what if it doesn't go down?
Yeah, it comes down to, again, always your risk tolerance. And more importantly, what I was always taught in the beginning was what allows you to sleep at night.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, so when people ask me, you know, what should I do, variable or fixed? It's just what allows you to sleep at night. That's the most important thing. You know, would I go back to, I mean, we're in fixed right now. Would I go back to variable? Possibly. But, you know, you got to take a look at the market. Do you feel like things are stable? Because right now we're in uncertain times.
Yeah.
And so if you feel uncertain, then you do the fix. But if you feel like taking a chance and maybe you're younger and you can handle some of those risks, then you go variable.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. We are so young still. We have the rest of our lives. Like if everything hits the fan, not gonna curse, then we have the rest of our lives to pick up the pieces and do it all again. And I know we can get right back to this position. If everything went away, was pulled out, the rug was pulled out from under us tonight, we could figure it out again. Yep. So that's also, I think it's easier to be younger and take risks versus like your grandparents. They don't want to take risks because they don't have earning potential. Like what they have is what they have.
Yeah, their years are behind them. I think another thing to mention here is, when we were living in Millbrook, we were also driving Skip the Dishes. So we had full-time jobs, and then we would drive to Peterborough after work and do Skip the Dishes in the evenings.
Like we would courier, we would deliver food.
And like our goals at that point were to get the basement of Millbrook fixed up. So we were driving Skip the Dishes in order to save the money to pay for new floors
floor.
So after your full-time job, then you were doing a part-time job.
Yeah. And I think...
Go ahead.
I think the other thing is like we don't have shame. Like we're willing to put in the work and do what it takes. Like if we need to like wash windows or drive Skip the Dishes, if we need to increase our income, we'll figure out a way. Like we don't have a chip on our shoulder or ego of like, oh, it's embarrassing to drive for Skip. Like you have to do what you have to do. If you want to reach your goals, you're going to have to do some things that not everyone is willing to do.
I agree with you 100%. You got to put in the work. That's it. When I was building my business and my goal and my vision and my dreams that I had, I didn't have time for Netflix. I didn't have time for entertainment. I just had time because when your dreams are so big, that's all you see. There's nothing else. You don't see anything else. You're not sliding into people's comments and being negative. You're just like, this is it. There's a great quote by Kanye West is that haters are people who have forgotten their own dreams. Right?
Yeah,
when you have time to hate, that means your dreams are just not that big. But your dreams are big that you were just so fixated on doing what you had to do to get what you wanted to get.
Exactly. And I think another thing is like we're both kind of fueled by, I don't want to say haters because I don't think we have any haters per se, but we have a lot of family members who are like, what are you doing? Sell your houses. Why do you own so many houses? Like just sell a house and get a pension.
Get your dream house. Yeah,
exactly.
Just liquidate what you have and then go and buy your dream house.
We hear that all the time. And we, I think, both really enjoy like sticking it to people and be like, no, we're not going to sell. In fact, we're going to buy another one and we're not going to sell that one. Like we're going to do everything opposite of what you're saying just to kind of like prove to people like, we'll figure it out. We're fine.
And the thing too is that a lot of people that are successful and do well in life are going against the grain, going against the norm, not what everybody else is doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think another thing too, like with the Skip the Dishes piece, it was fun.
Oh, we had so much fun.
Like, really?
We enjoy it. Like we would drive around listening to podcasts or just talking and laughing, like just enjoying.
So you guys are just doing it together?
We're just hanging out.
Yeah,
honestly.
we would do it together. Yeah.
It was just a hobby.
That is so awesome.
Yeah. He would drive and I would go into the restaurant. I'd get the food, come back in. I'd do the directions to the delivery and AJ would drop off. We had a great time. I think that's the other thing is you have to enjoy the process. You can't be so fixated on the end goal and so much so that you're missing the present. Like real life is happening. And the journey and the process is the funnest part. Like when you look back on the whole experience, you're like, oh, that was the fun. Like when we were in the trenches and we were working hard and we were sacrificing, like it's fun.
Yeah. Like life is what you make it. And
I love that.
We enjoy everything. Like we can just sit on the couch for 4 hours just talking and laughing. It doesn't have to be, don't have to go to a nice restaurant. Don't have to go on a trip. Don't have to do anything extravagant. It's just fun. Just live life.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is like, yeah, it is the journey. I'm watching this show right now because now I have a little bit more time to watch shows.
Sure.
Right? 1883.
Okay.
So it is part of the Yellowstone series. So it's back when they first kind of settled. And so anyway, to make a long story short, the main character in it is this young girl and they're traveling across America. It's like just a wild, wild west and crazy. But there's something in that whole entire series that really stuck with me. And she was talking about the rainbow and trying to find that pot of gold, which is that destination, and realizing that, no, it's not the pot of gold. It's enjoying that journey of the rainbow. That was the main part of it. And that what you guys are talking about, doing Skip the Dishes and just enjoying the moment and the now. And being together and laughing and talking about your dreams and your goals and where you're heading.
Exactly. It's the pursuit of the thing. It's not the thing that brings you happiness, because once you get to the thing,
there's a new thing.
You've moved your goalpost. Now you want the next thing. But if you enjoy the full, like, working towards it and the ups and the downs and the obstacles, like, that, it enriches your life.
I can't agree with you more, honestly. And this really kind of leads me now into our last segment, like just that whole mindset piece and the future and where things are going to be going for you guys. And so, where did you get some of the philosophies that you have? Because I feel like you guys are so young, but you have such a great mindset already.
Oh, thank you.
All of our friends are over 50.
We hang with a lot of old people. I think we're both
I'm
old
one of them.
souls. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully I am one of them.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Well, AJ is definitely an older soul than I am. I have a little bit more like youthful vibrancy still in my spirit. But
Oh, thank you.
but yeah, no, we surround ourselves with people that we respect and admire and want to learn from. Like, I think all of our connections and our friendships are people that inspire us to, like, be the better versions of ourselves. Like, we don't want to get anchored down by, subpar folk.
Yeah. And like listening to podcasts.
Yeah. What are some of your podcasts that you like listening to and some books that you like to read?
Oh God, I haven't read a book in a minute. It's been a while.
Which is fine. Yeah. I enjoy podcasts as well too. I have a difficult time. I did do reading more in the past, but I do more podcasts now. I just find I can just bang them out and I can get them quicker, the info I'm looking for.
Very accessible.
I like listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, obviously, but I filter it very specifically. If I find a name of a person who I find interesting, that's the one I'll listen to. I don't just go down the list downloading and listening to them. There's one, My First Million.
Okay.
That one is
You'd probably like it, Gary.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
My First Million. I'm going to write that one down.
It's all about, like, these two guys that they just talk about different, like, entrepreneurship ventures and businesses. And
yeah, it's good. It's very good. There's the James Altucher and your podcast, of course.
Well, thank you.
Shameless plug there.
Yeah.
Yeah, just listening to podcasts, talking to people.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm not, well, now since we've moved, I'm, like, not in my regular routine at all, but I like listening to a lot of, like, psychology and social psychology and self-help kind of stuff. I've always been interested in that.
Yep.
Jonathan Haidt. Do you know Jonathan Haidt?
No.
He's a researcher. He's written The Coddling of the American Mind, which is his most recent, The Anxious Generation is the most recent book that he's wrote. But he talks a lot about social psychology, ethics, morality, and The Coddling of the American Mind in particular is one of the best books I've ever read. And he basically talks about how human beings are anti-fragile. So we get stronger when we face adversity and obstacles. Like, we need that tension to fight against to get better and stronger. And he talks about how, like, modern institutions and modern society basically is set up to be the antithesis of anti-fragility. So it's coddling, we're too soft, we're too quick to call ourselves the victim and focus on, like, these systemic oppressions. And some of those things are valid for sure, but he's basically talking about how, like, we as humans need to remember we are resilient and we get stronger through adversity. So to stop letting ourselves get beat down by all this negative noise of, institutions telling us you can't do this or this is stacked against you, he basically just talks about how to use those obstacles to your advantage to overcome and be stronger.
You need obstacles. You need adversity. You need challenges.
That's
you
the
need
point.
to go through the difficulties of life so that you can now have the skill sets required to move forward and to be able, because every time you push yourself, you're expanding. And when you expand, you now allow yourself to get new skills and then you can contract. So, like, like you were saying right now, like, you're busy, you're doing other things right now, so you don't have time to be listening to the podcast. So you're maybe a little bit more in a contraction mode, which is fine. But then you can expand again. Exactly. And that is life,
Yeah.
When I got tougher with my son, and he now has gone through more adversity, and he's a welder as well too.
Nice.
And he looks back at it now, and at the time going through the toughness, he of course he didn't like it. But now he looks back and I'm like, man, I'm glad that you got a little tougher on me.
Yes.
Because you need that.
Yes. There's a quote, and it's like, discomfort is the price you pay to achieve your dreams. And it basically is talking about how, like, you're supposed to feel uncomfortable. You're supposed to feel out of your element. You're supposed to push yourself. You're supposed to challenge yourself. Like, that's that's the price you pay to get to the other side, to get to be the person you want to be. So you can't achieve your goals if you just stay in your little bubble of like, oh, I'm too afraid. There's too much risk. I'm too scared. It's too expensive. Like you've got a long life and you got one life. So you might as well just take the jump.
Yeah, just shoot.
Yeah, you're going to be uncomfortable either way if you don't pursue your goals, and you're going to be uncomfortable if you do. So you might as well try to do it.
Yeah.
In my perspective.
I agree. Yeah, you should always be pushing yourself, right? You know, even, listen, we were talking about this earlier. I hated the sound of my voice when I first started doing this podcast, right? And you even asked the question, is that how I sound? Yeah, we hear that all the time, AJ.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm glad that you guys are here to be able to share your story, because I think it's such an important story. You know, what was the foundational book or podcast that you read in the beginning? Everybody says Rich Dad Poor Dad. Was that yours as well too? Yeah, was that yours as well too?
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Why did you pick that one? And then I'll get to you, AJ.
Okay.
Oh, Lord, you're putting me on the spot here. I haven't read that in a long time.
Because I gave it to you?
Yeah, AJ gave it to me.
Yeah.
Shout out to AJ. I think it's just the first piece of literature that I'd read where it exposed me to the concept that like money isn't inherently bad, and you can use it for good, and you can be a good person and still want wealth. Like I just did not think that was a thing. I thought when I was younger, like there's the evil, greedy capitalist pigs who want money, and then there's like the noble, poor serf. And do you remember this? I used to feel like there was like honor in being not poor, but not pursuing wealth. I thought that was like very noble and respectable. And then Rich Dad Poor Dad just showed me like, no, that's silly. Like you should want the best for yourself and for others. And there's a strategy that you can use to, you know, achieve that goal.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because then what you can do with that as well too is you give them back. Like if you decide to be, well, one, you're providing housing.
Yeah.
Number two, if you decide to become an entrepreneur, then you can now potentially employ people. You know, like even with my podcast and the staff that we have here at the brokers and the staff that I have at Smart Home Choice and our other companies, like I'm giving back to be able to put food on the table for other people. And that's the journey that you guys are on, right? It's giving back and sharing your story. It's for other people to see and learn and hear how you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think also, sorry, one more thing and then I'll let you talk. Like money is value. Like money is the way that you know you're providing value. So when you do work, you're compensated for the work. When you create a product or a service, you're compensated for it. You're creating value and you receive money in return. So when you think of it like that, like we're providing housing, we're maybe going to employ people one day. Like you're contributing so much more. Like it's not just about blindly pursuing wealth. It's about like you're trying to make a contribution and be of service and like leave a legacy in a way.
Yeah, I agree. That's your legacy for sure. What about you? So you obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Who put that in your hand?
Might have been you.
Okay.
Yeah, I honestly, I can't remember. It's been so long. The people who know me know I have absolutely no memory whatsoever.
I'd say you're big on, sorry, I keep cutting off.
No, give me the juice.
So who was the guy that wrote the books Getting Past No and Getting to Yes? Chris Voss?
No, I cannot remember what his name is. He taught negotiation at Harvard.
What was it called?
Getting Past No.
And you are a big getting past no kind of mentality. Like AJ does not take no for an answer. Like when he has a goal in mind, like you're going to get that. You're going to get the negotiation done. You're going to make the deal. Like in your work, especially, like he doesn't accept no.
What was it called? Getting to Yes? That one?
Yeah.
Getting to Yes, negotiating agreement?
Yep.
All right, let's see who it is here.
I think it's Chris Voss.
It's not Chris Voss.
All right.
Oh, no, I can't find it. Why isn't that coming up? Anyways.
He has like 8 or 10 books, all on negotiation. And
William Ury? Is that it?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know. My interests they vary widely. But I remember listening to Rob Brake, the Breakthrough Real Estate. Is that still around? I haven't listened to it in a long time.
No, I think they stopped it. I thought they stopped it maybe last year. Well, at least Rob's not doing it and Sandy's not doing it anymore. I don't think so.
Yeah, Sandy McKay.
Sandy stopped. Maybe Rob is still doing it. I can't remember. But that was one of the first podcasts that I was actually a guest on. and I was talking about rent to own.
Oh,
I
okay.
was so nervous.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They gave me the questions, no word of a lie. And I had all of the answers written out. That is how nervous I was.
The script,
And I read them. Now, there wasn't video. It was just audio, so which was good. So I could actually read
You can
it.
dab the sweat off your head.
But you know what, though? But it goes to show you that everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah.
You know? And it's no different than your journey as well, too. That very first, that conversation that we had at that restaurant, to then having that game plan, to then sitting down and having a conversation with a mortgage agent, to then going out and sitting in a car and looking at properties, to then having somebody there with you to say, okay, does this house make sense? To then putting that, like, it's all steps. It's all steps.
Yeah. And it's interesting because even the people that are in the industry were telling us that we can't buy multiple properties with 5% down.
Mm-hmm.
So when we purchased our first property with 5% down, we were told like, that's it. Everything else is 20% moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were purchasing Peterborough House, I was like, let's go for it. Like, let's say we have 5% down. Let's see if we can get a mortgage. And we got a mortgage, everything was good. So then we tried it again. So with this new house, like, we want to keep as much of our money as possible.
Right.
And to pay like the 30 grand or whatever to CMHC to insure it is a no brainer. So we bought, this is our third property at 5% down. Mind you, this one was more expensive, so it's not literally 5% down, but it's the minimum that you could do. I think it was like 8 and change.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because once you get over the 500,000, right? Yeah, for sure. What are your long-term goals?
Oh goodness. Yeah, this is a tricky question. I'm not totally sure what the long-term goal is. Like, originally we wanted the 5 houses in 5 years. We managed to achieve 3 in 5 years, which I'm stoked about. I'm happy with that. So we've been informed that we're tapped out on our.
We're over leveraged.
Yeah, we're over leveraged.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we want to find a way to get an additional property in the future, or I want to get an apartment building, like a 6 or an 8-plex or something.
Like multifamily.
Yeah, in the next couple of years. But I don't know. I'm still kind of battling with the idea. Should I go that route or go the route of purchasing some sort of business or something like a laundromat or something that's relatively passive?
Right. Okay. So continue to build wealth. Now, what about time freedom, or what about now you've gotten to this point now of, you're creating wealth and now you're making wealth while you're sleeping, which is incredible.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. What about, like, the journey of vacationing, or I don't know, mountain climbing, or
we're indoor cats.
We're indoor cats.
Okay.
We like to. We're homebodies. I'd love to just snuggle up on my couch with my dogs, but like traveling eventually in the future. Like, we should go on our honeymoon at some point.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We got married in September. We still haven't gone on our honeymoon, but we'll get there.
Okay.
But I think, like, I enjoy buying 2 family homes. Like, that's what I'm comfortable with. That's like my wheelhouse. When you say you want to buy an apartment building, that makes my risk like, that just kind of makes me nervous. I don't know. It just feels like then there's so many more liabilities rather than a 2-unit home with 2 different liabilities. You're getting like an 8-plex with 8 different. I don't know. It just freaks me out, but we'll get there. I like the idea of owning a laundromat. I think that's cool. Ultimately, my goal is to be a traditional housewife. I just want to stop working.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But with our new mortgage, that's not an option. I still have to work. But eventually, ultimately, here's my real dream, real talk. I want to move to Tennessee. I want to abandon Canada.
Okay.
I want to move to Tennessee. It's just less expensive to live in the States, I feel, in certain areas. But I love all my friends and family, so they either have to all come with us, or we have to wait until everyone passes away, so we won't miss anybody.
So Tennessee, why Tennessee? Have you been there before?
No.
Or is you online, looking at homes, videos?
So I used ChatGPT a couple months ago, and I just said, tell me like the 5 lowest income tax states, highest quality of life, affordability, all that stuff. And Tennessee came out on top. Tennessee and I think South Carolina.
Yeah.
I want to go somewhere warm. Ultimately, I just want warm weather.
Yeah. The weather's huge too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But realistically, I'm a big baby. I don't want to leave my friends and family. You'd be willing to up and leave in a second, but I just can't. It's just kind of like a dream in my mind. But one day I would like to maybe have a property like down south and we can go and 6 months of the year just go live a nice warm life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think within the next 10 years, just some kind of retirement.
Right.
A soft retirement.
Yeah. A soft retirement.
A soft retirement. Yeah.
I don't even know if I would want to stop working, but just having the freedom to stop working if I wanted to.
If you want to, to be able to take breaks or take mini retirements. I love mini retirements. You know, that's something that Darlene and I do, where we just take the summers off and take the winters off.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, I tell people this all the time, go and lay on a beach for a year. You can't do it. I guarantee you can't do it.
You get bored.
And so then you need something to have a passion for, some type of goal to always continually be setting.
Yep. Some kind of direction.
That's the human condition. Yeah.
I see people retire all the time and then they come back.
Yep.
You know, and especially like in the real estate investing, where you see people like, okay, I'm done. I've made my millions. I've got all these multifamily investment properties. I'm good. And then all of a sudden 2 years, like, all right, I'm back.
Yeah, you get the itch again.
Yeah, you want to do something, or then maybe you want to be a consultant, or you want to share your story with people and maybe start your own podcast or whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it's like the myth of Sisyphus. Like a human life is about rolling the boulder up the hill. And then when the boulder rolls down, you get a couple minutes of reprieve and relaxation until the next challenge. And then you roll it back up. Like you need to constantly be facing obstacles. I think like if we're talking like big goals, I'd like to write a book one day. I don't know about what, but just like kind of like a life lesson, thoughts on life kind of thing. Or like maybe go get my master's, but also I've been out of school so long now. I'm like, I don't care. I'm comfortable. I got a good job. Like I don't feel that itch to go back to school as much, but.
Yeah. So listen, we're getting close to the end here. Couple more questions. Somebody is listening to this and says, well, you know what? It's still too expensive. What do you say to them?
It's just 5%. All you need is 5% and sacrifice and planning. I think that deliberate planning, like get in charge of your life, get in charge of your finances, make your money work for you. So you need 5% down. You can go to Peterborough. That was where we went. Peterborough, you can buy a house for 400 grand. And if you actually want to progress, you need to make the sacrifice. So if I were starting over and I was single, I would save up as much money as I could. I would buy a place in Peterborough and I would rent the rooms out. Rent the rooms out. It covers all your mortgage, and then save for the next one. Well, maybe next time you can get a duplex and it'll take you less time to save because your expenses are going down, I'm assuming, if you're not renting out.
Yeah. Great advice.
I would say lower your expectations, or like check your expectations. Don't expect to get your forever home in your first purchase. Don't expect to get a home downtown Toronto. Like you're going to have to expand your geographical area of where you're looking. You're going to have to maybe get not the nicest place. You might have to put some elbow grease into it. So I would say check your expectations. I would say think about your network. Like if you're in a relationship, that's a huge advantage because then you can just pool your funds and work together on that goal. But if you're a single person, which a lot of young people are, get together with a friend who you trust, who makes good decisions, who's, you feel like you could be a good partner with, and go in on a house together or invest in something together. You can get a hot dog truck. You can there's so many ways to make money. You just have to get creative, listen to podcasts, read resources and books, just collect all the information you can. I would say get a Wealth Simple account and invest. Use my referral code. But yeah, just be strategic with your money. Be honest with yourself. Look at your money. I was just saying to AJ, this year I've gotten so much more deliberate with my money than I ever have been in my life. So I know exactly every dollar that comes in, where every dollar goes. You pay yourself first. So you make sure you're saving money, whether you're investing it or just leaving it in an interest account. I'd say have an honest relationship with yourself when it comes to money, and don't be afraid to think about it because it's your key to your
future.
Yeah. So you have to face it.
Guys, I honestly really enjoyed this podcast. And I think a lot of people, the younger generation will enjoy this as well too, because you've given them a roadmap, and it's something that is achievable. It's not like it's not achievable. even though everybody's telling you right now, if you're listening to this, that you can't do it, proof is right here. And the prices of homes, like you're saying, you can go to Peterborough, you can go to Millbrook, you can go to these different areas that are not that far of a drive out, and there's no damn traffic. There's no traffic.
Yeah.
And you can get back into the city. Yes. Listen, guys, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And I'm
Thanks for having us, Gary.
incredibly happy and proud of the success that you guys have had. So
Thank you. We owe a
Amazing.
lot to you. You've been very instrumental helping us out,
you're
guiding
welcome.
us through.
Yeah, driving us to all the open houses and checking all the places out.
You're welcome. I just answered some questions. You guys pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
So the congrats goes to you.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
thank
much.
you.
All right, guys, we'll do this again.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome.